Hello everyone. Today's subject is a very interesting subject. It's a subject of crisis and pain and growth, spiritual growth, transformation. We all in crisis nowadays because of coronavirus. The crisis are far-fetching all sorts of aspects of our lives. But I will be concentrating again on our personal crisis and personal understanding what it means to one's life. So let me just read something for you, as I always do, so you can not be disappointed with my kind of style of delivery. This is a little prayer, which is an African prayer. So I put my glasses on and I'll read it to you. Grandfather, look at our brokenness. We know that in all creation, only the human family has strayed from the sacred way. We know that we are the ones who are divided, and we are the ones who must come back together to walk the sacred way. Grandfather, Sacred One, teach us love, compassion and honor, that we may heal the earth and heal each other. Isn't that a lovely, lovely praying of Africa? And crisis as such very often is seen by us as a kind of curse. I remember myself when I went to analysis many years ago to the lovely Jungian mentor of mine, Baroness von der Hind, who looked at me, kindly, and she was indeed much older than me and sort of my age today. And I sort of blustered that I came to her upon the recommendation of somebody from Westminster Cathedral, and that I'm here to get rid of my pain and my crisis. And she kindly smiled and said, that is not going to be possible. I thought she was kind of not so good. I'm paying her quite a lot of money to get rid of my pain, and she's saying that I have to fall in love with the pain. Well, I was totally bewildered. And it took me another 30 years of wandering and living through many, many, many crises, including losing my beloved nephew and sister, as we all have crises, and various mini collapses and almighty collapses, discovering all sorts of things and being bewildered and growing through it. So I always say that the only person or the only being who hasn't got the crisis is God, because he knows it all, you see. He doesn't have to have crisis. But we human beings have to have crisis, because we are not in any shape or form know-it-all. So what does it mean, crisis, really? For many of you, crisis might be just huge amount of misfortune. But actually crisis, in a kind of psychological, philosophical sense, is a kind of feeling that an old is dying, and that the new is not born yet. That something is going. It's a turmoil. As Indian people said, if you want to have a rainbow, you have to have the rain before that. So we don't want the rain, we just want to have a rainbow. And that's what it is, a principle of the pleasure, as Freud would put it, a principle of child, that we need to have life to be good and to be one-dimensional and with no problem. Well, reality principles, as Buddhists would put it, is tough. Life is tough, brutal sometimes, but also life is wonderful and full of mysteries. So if we do not embrace the crisis and do not embrace our pain, we're not going to really have much chance to change through it. J.F. Kennedy once talked to American people, and he reminded them of the fact that Chinese people use two brushes for the word crisis. And the reason why they use two brushes is because in crisis, as they say, be aware of danger, but also in crisis, recognize the opportunity. Wonderful, wonderful saying. And I think whether it's political, economical, or personal, we have to see to that as such. So let me read you something again about a praying which is connecting a crisis and humanity to God. And this is Ravidas praying. You are me, and I am you. What is the difference between us? We are like gold in the bracelet, or water in the waves. If I did not commit any sins, O infinite Lord, how would you have acquired the name Redeemer of sinners? You are my master, the inner knower, searcher of hearts. The servant is known by his God, and the Lord and Master is known by his servants. So again, it is the communication between the higher self, the God of our understanding, the love, and us. Feeling in love and falling in love with suffering requires surrender. It requires commitment to cope with disappointments. It requires stop being a victim and stop being passive. It means that we must be responsible. And many addicts, all addicts, know that. As they always say, the only way is the way through it. Addiction is, after all, escapism. It's to fix the problem, it's to soothe it, is to escape. And that is the one thing which we are not going to be able to do. In crisis, we need to be present, more so probably than any other days, any other times. Thomas Jeffrey once had a little prayer, which I also read it to you, which also kind of qualifies that understanding. And his saying goes like that: the most fortunate of us in our journey through life will have lots of calamities and misfortunes and pain and sorrows. And that is the fortunate, as Thomas Jeffrey would put it. Hegel, I remember I couldn't understand Hegel for the life of me when I was studying philosophy, but I remember that he always talked about cosmic crisis, that our personal crisis somehow touches the cosmic crisis. So we kind of come through, and maybe crisis teach us to think outside the box, and that's very scary. The pain, the crisis propel us to something else. Many thinkers, many philosophers, even Einstein said the crisis is an opportunity for something else, for growth, for changes, for being a better person, different person. I remember how many men would come to me and say, you know, Madam Parker, I don't want any crisis in the marriage, with women, with money, with business. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I remember one gentleman, terribly successful, a multi-millionaire, you know, and terribly miserable, said, I wish I could live on the top of the mountain, because, you see, if I'm on the top of the mountain, I'm sure I will have no crisis. I said, well, the weather will hit you, and I will have no relationship, and I will be as peaceful as hermit. Another one said, you know, Madam Parker, I'm going to leave Europe. I'm going to Mexico. I said, because I've had enough of my crisis with women and my crisis with life. I said, well, in Mexico, there are lots of women too, so I think you won't be able to escape. So you see, the child in us, the passive part of us, the lazy part, and we all lazy, don't want to. I don't want to live through crisis. Well, that's what children do. But and also, I think in my Catholic religion, a lot of teaching was, especially when I was a child and young, I couldn't understand it, that God will rescue. I'm not very enamored with this idea that because Jesus died for us, that we don't have to do anything. I'm always repairing this concept for people and say he has shown us the way how to die ourselves, so we can therefore be involved in giving birth to Christ consciousness. We ourselves have to be there. And as he said to his disciple, you know, my teaching is very simple. The problem is that it's a bit tough. It's simple but difficult. And that's what we don't like. We don't like being told that something is difficult. We don't even, if I say to people who come to me, listen, that's the window of opportunity. Even the most extraordinary crisis, extraordinary pain, like losing beloved ones, like losing businesses, like having no idea how to cope with disappointments and pain, it's still the window of opportunities. And rather than going depressed, if we look at it from position of creative part of us, we can actually ask ourselves what presses us down. What is it? Is it because we avoid it? You know, from clinical point of view, neurosis as such, the description of neurosis is the idea that we avoid the pain. And by avoiding the pain and by avoiding the life, we create actually more pain. And that is a clinical understanding of neurosis. So you see, it's probably no point to go back and look at it as if we're particularly hit hard. Of course, that in our language, clinical language, we say that we have to change from pleasure principle, which is the principle of a childhood and childish way, into reality principle. Crisis can bring chaos, crisis can bring unknown, but crisis can also, above all, bring us opportunity. It's like a storm, a thunderstorm. But as Sadhguru would put it, be patient, wait. Yeah, wait for that rainbow. Don't let go of life. Be absolutely prepared. So we have to come, in a way we have to overcome our self-full crisis. We have to overcome the life. And as I say, my life belongs to me. I cannot avoid suffering. And I am not here to say that I am a special person and would not suffer. Suffering also means that we create and build our resilience. We can change, and as one American say, through pain I can be changed. But what happened to me? But I refuse to be reduced by it. And refusing to be reduced by it is what falling in love with suffering means. It means that I will always be looking at the suffering and crisis as embracing the terror and embracing the fear and embracing anxiety and embracing the body which is shattered and taking care of it. The fact that we don't want to suffer is one truth, and that we have to suffer is another, and we have to go through it, because the alchemy, transformation, means that we have to be the material, we have to be the process, and we have to be the outcome. So that is, without our involvement, we are not going to live in the reality principle. We will always just be in the principle of our laziness and our child. I like, a saying of Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a very beautiful Buddhist monk from Vietnam, who is very depth of understanding of life. Absolutely, I love. In this plate of food, I see the entire universe supporting my existence. And in the plate of food, in our suffering, in our pain, entire universe support our existence. So what can we do as one of the English lovely that's the quote, so I'm not going to. Julian of Norwich said at the end, be a gardener, dig a ditch, toil and sweat, and turn the earth upside down, and seek the depthness and water the plants in time. Continue this labor, and make sweet floods to run, and noble and abundant fruits to spring. Take this food and drink and carry it to God as your true worship. So whatever we do, whatever we feel, we have to worship God, or worship God of our understanding, to become a spiritually alert, robust, authentic, and self and essence-centered human being. So let's say a prayer. God, grant the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Bye for now.